Welcome to Simply Fun Cooking. I'm Rachel Hanson, and today I am so excited. Summer is here, and that means cherry season. So today I am going to show you some fun recipes that feature some cherries from right here in Wisconsin. So we're going to start with a pork tenderloin, and we're going to make some cherry red wine preserves to go on top. We're going to make a Brussels sprout salad with some dried cherries on there, and I'm going to show you a fun cherry-themed cocktail. So let's get started. What we have here is we've got 2 pork tenderloins. You can do 1 or 2, but I've got 2 on our rotisserie spit. We're going to put this right in the air fryer. So I just kind of wove them onto the rotisserie spit so that we can get both of them on there. So we'll have plenty of pork. And we're going to just start with a little bit of oil on top. Get a little bit of oil on there. And then we're going to season it. The seasoning that we're going to use today is brand new South Carolina style barbecue rub. So this is brand new from Pampered Chef, here for the summer, and we're going to use this to season our pork tenderloin. Now this has some really great vinegar aromas. It's got some Dijon mustard in there. It's going to pair really nicely with the sweetness of the preserves that we're going to make. So we're just going to go ahead and get some of that on here, and then we'll rotate. Get in between. Now, if you'd like, you can season your meat before you put it on the rotisserie spit. I find it easier to put this rub on after I've put it on the spit, just because it takes a little maneuvering to get it on there, and you don't want all that rub to fall off. But whatever works for you. And we're going to turn this one more time, get this last side here. Once we have this all seasoned up, we're going to put this in the air fryer. Now, the air fryer has a rotisserie setting, and it's got a spot to put our rotisserie spit in. So we're just going to lift it up and set it in. I love that we've got the tools here that we can use to lift it. All right, we'll go ahead and lock it in place. And we're going to turn this to the rotisserie setting, and we're going to start with 50 minutes. We might need a little bit more time, but we're going to start with 50, and we're going to go ahead and press start. Make sure that it's spinning in there. So this is all ready to go. We're just going to let our pork sit. We're going to let it sit on the rotisserie and spin and cook. We'll check it in about 50 minutes. We'll check the temperature. We want to go for about 145 degrees to have it done at a medium temperature. 160 would be well done. I'm going to be aiming for medium, so we're going to be aiming for that 145 degrees, but we'll check that in a little bit. In the meantime, let's get those cherry red wine preserves ready to go. Now this sounds like it might be complicated, but it's actually really simple. We are going to use the Deluxe Cooking Blender, and we're going to just throw all of the ingredients in there and turn it on to the jam setting and let it go. So here's what we're going to add in. We'll grab the pitcher here and take the top off. All right, so we've got some frozen Door County cherries. Yum, 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 yum. You can use fresh cherries. Just make sure that you take the stems and the pits out. Stems off, pits out. All right, and we are going to put in, we need about 2 pounds of these cherries. We're going to add in the juice from 2 lemons. So we'll get our lemons sliced in half here. And I'm going to go ahead and use the juicer. Make this super quick and easy. Here are our 2 lemons. Look at how well it gets all the juice out of there. Go ahead and pour that juice on top of our cherries. All right. And then we're going to add some wine. So whatever you happen to have on hand, a nice robust red wine works really, really well. Take the foil off here, and we'll go ahead and open our bottle of wine. So we need about 1 cup of that red wine. Pour that on top of our cherries. All right. And then we need the pectin. So the pectin, this is the key to giving your preserves that gelatinous texture, right? That's the pectin. That's what does that job. Now, we just want regular. You don't need anything fancy, just regular pectin. And then we're going to put about 3 tablespoons in. So I'm going to go ahead and just measure that out. And put that right in. Now the last ingredient that we need, we're not going to add just yet. The last ingredient is sugar. And because they're preserves, there's quite a bit of sugar that goes in. But we're going to add that in a little bit later. We are going to get this started. So we're going to go ahead and put this on our blender base here. And we're going to turn it to the jam setting and press start. So it's going to periodically mix this. It's going to chop up all those cherries for us as it goes. And it's going to heat it up to 220 degrees. So with those frozen cherries in there, it'll take a little bit longer, but it'll keep us posted down here on how it's doing. And once it gets to 220 degrees, it'll beep at us. We'll add our sugar in, and then we'll let it finish its job. But how great is it that we can just let this sit off to the side and do the work for us? I love that. All right, while the preserves are going, while the tenderloin is cooking, let's get our salad ready to go. We are going to make a shaved Brussels sprout salad with some dried cherries. We're going to put some walnuts on it, and we're going to make a really sweet dressing to go with it. So we're going to start with the Rapid Prep mandolin. You guys know this is one of my favorite new toys. I am just loving it so much. All right, so today the setting we're going to use, we just need these really thinly shaved. So we're going to turn this to just the regular slicing, and I'm going to go pretty thin. I think 1 or 2. We'll start on 2 and we'll see how it looks. All right, get our tray in there to catch. I have all of our Brussels sprouts. I've got them all washed and trimmed, ready to go. Got them in one of our new produce bags here. So we're just going to take these and we're going to be able to just plop them right into the mandolin, just like this. All right, get our blade up and let's see how they look. As our bin fills up, we're going to be making this salad. We're going to be preparing it and serving it in our brand new rectangular cool and serve tray. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of dump those in as we go along. We're going to just mix up our salad right in there. No need to use a mixing bowl, dirty anything else up. We'll just make it right in the tray. So there we go. Look at how quick and easy that was. So I have about 2 pounds of Brussels sprouts there. Now we're going to chop up some walnuts. So I've got some walnuts here, and they're already kind of chopped, but I'm going to give them a little bit more. These are walnut pieces, so we'll chop them up a little bit. Put some in the food chopper here. Just give it a little bit. And we're just going to sprinkle those right on top. And we're going to add some dried cherries. All right. We need about 3/4 of a cup. Maybe a little bit more. We'll see. All right. We'll pour those on. We're going to also add some shredded Parmesan cheese. So I'm going to take some Parmesan here. We'll just cut off a chunk. And we'll grate that up. The recipe calls for about 1/4 of a cup, but you guys know me, and you know how we Wisconsinites feel about cheese, so I usually add some extra. That looks like a good start. Definitely more than 1/4 of a cup, so we'll just sprinkle some of it on here. We can always add a little bit more later if we'd like. All right, now to go with this, we're going to make a homemade dressing. So we're going to get out the Measure, Mix, and Pour. And this is going to be a really sweet dressing. This is actually a really great recipe for the fall when you want something a little more seasonal. You know, those dried cherries kind of remind you of dried cranberries. Brussels sprouts usually are much more available going into the fall season. But I really wanted to pair this with the pork today, so I figured I would pull it out a little bit early. So we're going to start with just some mayo. And we need about 1/4 of a cup. So we've got our handy measure-all cup. Using the petite one, 1/4 of a cup is the same as 4 tablespoons. Plop that into our Measure, Mix, and Pour. Next, we're going to use some maple syrup. Make sure you have real maple syrup. And again, about 1/4 of a cup. Next, we're going to add some olive oil. How much? You guessed it, 1/4 of a cup. So 1/4 of a cup of olive oil. Add that in. And then we just need a little bit of vinegar and a little bit of sugar. So the vinegar, we're actually going to use like a champagne vinegar. So Prosecco, wine vinegar. You could use a white wine vinegar if that's what you have, but this is going to give it a little bit different flavor. So we need about a tablespoon of the vinegar. And then we need just a teaspoon of sugar. All right, once you have all of those ingredients in there, we're just going to put the top on here, and we'll give it a good shake to mix it all together. All right, just like that. So we can pour this on top and we can mix it into our salad now, or we can serve it on the side. I am actually just going to leave it off to the side until our pork and our preserves are ready. We'll just leave this off to the side so it's all ready to go. But before we serve, I'm going to drizzle it on top, and we're going to go ahead and toss the salad, get everything mixed together so that it's all ready to go. But how quick and easy was that? While we are waiting for everything to finish up, I am going to show you a great cocktail recipe that's going to pair nicely with your meal. To go with our tenderloin and our salad, I'm going to make a really nice tart cherry cocktail. Now hopefully this will go nicely since we're going to have the sweetness from our preserves. It's going to be super sweet. So this will be nice and tart, and it'll be a nice contrast. So for this cocktail, we are going to use some Door County cherry vodka. So delicious. We're going to use some tart cherry juice, again from Door County. We need a little bit of triple sec and a lime and some ice. So, like I said, this is a tart cocktail. If you want it to be sweeter, you can definitely add a little bit of simple syrup, and that'll help sweeten it up a bit. But I'm excited to try it nice and tart. So, we're going to start with our shaker here, and we're going to get some ice in there. We need about a 1/2 ounce of lime juice. Now, most cocktails work on ratios. In fact, any cocktail, you can use the ratios and make a larger or a smaller portion if you'd like, or a batch. I usually like to start with my citrus because I'm pressing fresh citrus juice. And so I like to press it right into the jigger so I can measure out and know exactly how much juice I have and use that as the starting point for my ratios. Because you see, if it calls for a ½ ounce of lime juice, but I have 3/4 of an ounce, then I'm going to adjust everything else to kind of match that so I have a nice balanced beverage instead of not using some of the lime juice. Because once you cut that lime and start juicing it, you want to use all that juice. So let's see what we have here. And look at that, we have about 3/4 of an ounce. So about 3/4 of an ounce of our fresh lime juice. So then we're going to add in some of the tart cherry juice. So we're going to add in about 3/4 of an ounce, since we have 3/4 of an ounce of our lime juice. Our triple sec, we're going to add 1½ ounces. And then we're going to add about 4½ ounces of our Door County cherry vodka. So my jigger is 2 ounces, so there's 2, 4, and ½. All right, now Pampered Chef's cocktail shaker is a Boston style shaker, so you have the 2 cups, one that presses inside the other, and you see that it's at a little bit of an angle. These are stainless steel, so we can feel when our drink is cold. So we just put that top on and we shake. Now, different drinks are shaken versus stirred, and that just has to do with what you're making and what you're mixing. So a lot of our drinks are shaken, in fact most cocktails are, because we are mixing a juice with a liquor. They've got different densities, and so shaking them up is the best way to get them to mix well. If we were making, say, a martini, which is just a couple different kinds of liquor, without the juice, without simple syrup, without sugars added, then you could just stir it to mix it together. And of course, if you're adding in any sort of sodas or champagne, you want to add that in later and stir it in, because that doesn't work well when you're shaking, obviously. So we shake it up until it's nice and cold. You can see, you can feel when it's cold. And then we just kind of wiggle the top off like this. Okay. We've got our glass, and we add some ice into our glass. Now the purpose of the ice in a cocktail actually is not only to keep it cold, but is to dilute it just a little bit, and that gives it the right flavor. That is actually one of the reasons you need ice in your drink. So we're going to strain out the ice that we used for shaking and pour it over some fresh ice in our glass. All right, you can serve this in a tumbler like this with some ice. You could garnish with a little lime wedge. You could serve it in a martini glass with a slice of lime if you wanted. So many different options. But this is your quick and easy, fun, tart cherry cocktail to go with your meal. Let's see how it is. Got to test the cocktails. That's good. It is definitely tart, but it's not too tart. That tart cherry juice has just enough sweetness, plus the triple sec actually adds some sweetness to the drink as well. So I wouldn't say that this is overly tart. It's not making my cheeks pucker up, right? But I think this is going to balance really, really well with the sweetness of those preserves. So, all right, I'm going to set this aside, and in just a couple of minutes, we're going to check on our pork and see how it's doing. Our pork is done. We're going to check that in just a minute. And the blender has beeped at us. So at this point, we're going to add the sugar, and we need to add about 3 1/4 cups of sugar. Get one of these. Okay. So 3 1/4 cups of sugar. So I've got the sugar here. We're just going to take the little top off here, add it in the top, okay? And we got to pour it in. So we're going to measure out. I'm just using this 1/2 cup measuring cup because it's easier to pour in. So 3 1/4 cup. So there's 1, 2, 3, and we'll get 1/4 cup in there. Now, you might be looking at this and thinking, holy moly, that is a lot of sugar. But let me tell you, there are multiple reasons why there is a lot of sugar in your jams, your jellies, and your preserves. And it's not just for the flavor. Yes, those kinds of foods tend to be sweeter in flavor, but when you add that much sugar, it actually helps preserve your jellies, your jams, your preserves when you make them. So a lot of times, especially when you make them at home, when you make a batch like this, I'm just going to put this lid on and it says add, I'm going to press start. All right. So when you make this, this batch, I'm going to take this and I'm going to take some of it, I'm going to can it. So I'm going to take some glass mason jars, I'm going to boil them and disinfect them. I'm going to put the jam in there, put the lids on, and then boil them again for a few minutes to disinfect and to seal those lids on. And then I can store it on a shelf in my pantry until I'm ready to eat it. So that's what's really great, is I can make this nice large batch and then I can have these cherry wine preserves for a while to come. So I love doing that. I love doing that with fresh strawberries in the summer. I make a big batch of jam and then I've got strawberry jam for the whole year. But the sugar helps prevent bacteria growth. When you have a very sugar high environment, it's really hard for bacteria to grow. So that helps keeps your preserves nice and fresh and healthy for you as well. So that's the other reason why you add a lot of sugar when you make your jams and your jellies. So we added our 3 1/4 cups of sugar. I press the button again. It's just going to finish out the cycle. And when it's done, we will have these fresh cherry wine preserves that we can put over our pork. Now, speaking of pork, let's check on that. So let's set these aside here. Now our pork beeped at us. It was done. As always, I wish you could smell this. It smells so amazing. That Carolina style barbecue rub just has this amazing aroma to it. All right, so we've let it rest for a little bit. You want to let it rest for about 20 minutes. So I have been letting it rest. And then we're just going to undo these little screws here and we're going to take this off of the spit. All right, look at that beautiful, beautiful pork. So I've got a serving platter here. We're going to be able to just kind of slice this up. Look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? Can you guys hear? There's a little bit of crispiness on the outside from the air fryer. Oh, look at that piece. So good. So good. So we're going to go ahead and slice this up, and then we can just put it on our platter, and then we can serve that. It'll be all ready to go. The Carolina barbecue has a really good sweetness to it. It didn't smell like it was going to be super sweet, but it does have just a bit. And it's got some caramelization going on here. It's really, really nice. And it's going to be lovely with those cherry preserves when they're done in a few minutes. So, so good. So as soon as those preserves are done, we'll get this all plated up and then we'll give it a try. We have everything all ready to go. Our cherry wine preserves are done. They're still quite hot. As they cool, they will thicken up, but I do have a little bit in a jar here. It's just starting to thicken up as we sit here. So this is going to get nice and thick, and it's going to be absolutely delicious on our pork. So Here is what we have. Oh my gosh, you guys, I am so excited for this meal. So we've got our salad, Brussels sprouts with some of those nuts, and we've got some cherries, and we've got that Parmesan cheese on there. You can always add a little more of any toppings that you like. And we've got our pork here. I'm going to serve up a couple slices of that amazing, juicy, tender pork with that Carolina-style rub on there. So, so delicious. And we're going to add on some of that, the cherry preserves. And like I said, as it cools, it will thicken up. Right now, it's almost like a nice cherry wine sauce. Just beautiful on there. And then, of course, we are going to pair this with our tart cherry cocktail. So don't forget that dressing, adding it on at the end so our Brussels sprouts don't get soggy. But if you're serving this, you could pour it all on right away and mix it in. We're going to just add a little bit on there. So there we have it, a fantastic Door County cherry inspired meal for you and your family. So quick, so simple. I mean, using these tools, especially this summer when it's hot out, we didn't have to start up the oven. We didn't have to turn on the stove. We just put everything in here and we just let it go on the countertop and it cooked our meal for us. How great is that? So this is going to be a really fun, fresh meal with lots of really bright flavors and really enjoying those Door County cherries that we have here in Wisconsin. So when you are looking for more information about these products or these recipes, you can head on over to pamperedchef.com. You can search for me, Rachel Hanson, or your local Pampered Chef consultant. Thank you so much for joining us today.